That's what the Bible calls fornication. By the way, lest you wonder whether the civil power has a right to actually legislate the first table of the law, let's continue reading there in verse 6. For because of this, you also pay taxes. See, because God has placed them there, you pay taxes. For they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. Render, notice the word render, just the word that Jesus used. Render therefore to all their due. Taxes, to whom taxes are due. Customs, to whom customs. Fear, to whom fear. Honor, to whom honor. Owe no one anything except to love one another. For he who loves one another has fulfilled the law. Which table of the law is this talking about in the context of the civil government? Love your what? Your neighbor. And then, if you still don't understand it, verse 9, for the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet. And if there's any other commandment, are those all commandments that have to do with the second table of the law? Absolutely. Are all summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. The Apostle Paul is saying, look, we should obey the civil law because it's the civil law, but we should also obey the civil law because of love. As Christians, we have two motivations. Number one, because the civil law says it. It's not because we're afraid of the civil law, but the real reason is because when you have the law written on the heart, you're going to love your neighbor. But notice that the government has to do with the second table of the law and not with the first table of the law. And do you know what? Shortly after the story of the church in the book of Acts, the church took a very bad turn. Apostasy came into the church. We studied this before. And the church merged with the state. And the same scenes that took place in the trial and crucifixion of Jesus were repeated all over again in case after case after case. The church using the civil power to punish dissenters for their beliefs, to punish people whose conscience contradicted what the church was doing. Now, I'd like to bring this to a close by saying that Pilate should never have delivered an innocent man. Some people say, well, he was the political ruler, he didn't know any better. He did know better. You say, how do we know that? Matthew 27 and verse 19. Matthew 27 verse 19. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, that is Pilate, his wife sent to him saying, have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him. What was the counsel to the civil ruler? Don't touch him, because he's a just man. He has not violated any of the laws of Rome. And the accusations against him are false. And yet Pilate